Luke in Birmingham, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just gonna present to you why I choose to believe. Let me start by saying, firstly, the God that I serve doesn't actually require a human being to know about him or in order for him to be healed by him. See,
in order for him to what?
In order for him to be healed by him.
So you believe in a God that heals, but belief in the God isn't required for healing?
No, and healing from selfishness into selflessness, because we are all born selfish, as I'm sure we can all admit. We're all born selfish, egocentrism. We're all born egocentric, and the opposite is actually the design for life.
Okay,
and,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You believe in a God that can change somebody from being selfish to selfless, but belief in that God is not required for that transition?
Not necessarily.
That's an interesting question for free will, then.
No. What he will present evidence. Oh, yes. And the next thing I was going to say is this: the God that I actually believe in values human freedom more than anything, and is actually willing to die, give his own life, than use his own powers to violate your own freedoms.
Okay.
And that's key. Secondly, the second evidence I have is that.
Whoa.
Wait.
Luke?
You can't have a second evidence until you have a first one.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
There wasn't any evidence. That was just a definition of what you believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
That's true. Okay, yeah. Okay, then moving on from that, my religion teaches that God is love. And this love is given a definition. It's not an emotion or a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's actually a principle upon which life is based. It is the principle of giving, and it says his nature. This principle of giving can actually be seen in what he has made. And so, if he created this world and his nature is love, and he is giving, you can see this in all systems that promote life. And an example of this principle found in nature. Would be respiration. With every breath that you take, you give out carbon dioxide to the plants. Plants give out oxygen. Give out carbon dioxide to the plants. Plants give back oxygen. It's the principle of giving that sustains life. Furthermore, you can see this example.
Hang on, Luke. Before you get to the furthermore, I mean, you've said God is love and God is nature, and that's all poetic. No. That's all poetic stuff. You didn't say that?
I didn't say God is nature.
Okay.
His nature can be seen.
You said that your religion teaches
his
that.
Nature.
You said your religion teaches that God is
what
love.
Nature?
No, God's nature. God's nature is love. And
God's nature is love, and then
right.
which is some nice little poetic non-descriptions, and then you say that this is a principle, and then you say that the evidence for this principle is seen in nature through something like respiration. And what I'm going to say to that is that the process of respiration, this synergistic process that you're talking about, where we exhale carbon dioxide that the plants use, that they then provide us with oxygen, that is an entirely material, understood scientific principle that doesn't require love or anything beyond that.
I'd like to also to bring up, this is an important thing to think about. If God's nature is love, and you are apparently, I would assume, one of God's favorite, creations. You are a human being. That means that you're an animal. That means that in order for you to exist, you must consume and digest living cells.
Right.
As all animals do. So God's nature, according to you, is evident when we see a cheetah outrunning a springbok and tearing it apart. Am I right?
That goes on to prove my point even more, because then my religion also teaches that our planet is infected by an antagonistic principle to his nature that brings death. And this is the principle of selfishness, which is the opposite of love. It's the principle of me first and seeking out me first, because greater love is when you give your life for something, and then this other antagonistic principle is whereby you sacrifice someone else's life for yours. And in nature, you can see this when you see animals killing each other to promote their own well-being. And
I need to understand something here. Who created the animals?
God did.
Okay. God made them have to
Yeah.
depend on consuming living cells. God
Not
built
originally-
death
not originally,
into
yes,
the
God-
survival system.
Yes, that's because we are infected with this.
God
concept-
infected us, is what you're saying.
Not, my religion doesn't teach that. It teaches. It
God
explains
created
how
the animal.
physical
The animal is
Hang on.
dependent on death to survive.
He's saying not originally.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
in
saying
the
that there
Garden
was
of
a
Eden.
yeah,
In the
yeah.
Garden of Eden.
You're
in the Garden of
saying
Eden.
You're saying that there's a time when animals didn't have to eat other animals to live?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Are
Do you
you
have evidence for that?
Okay, well, I'm going to.
yes or no
when you
question,
look at
please?
it-
Can
when
you
look
answer
at
with
it
a
in
yes or no,
totality,
please? Can you say yes or no, please? Do you
I
have evidence for that?
Animals, there's a time when animals never had to eat each other.
I didn't hear. Was that a yes, you have evidence for that, or was that a no, you don't have evidence for that?
And by
Please
the
answer.
way, there is an audio problem with the phones.
How can I have evidence for it?
So
Then
the
why
answer
would
is
you-
no.
So the answer is no.
Okay.
No,
Now, why do you believe it if you don't have evidence for it?
because it makes sense in totality with the rest of the evidence that I see.
Wait, with the rest of the evidence.
Yeah.
So what evidence? You said you don't have evidence, now you say you do.
The law of love is this, that in order for a living system to live, it needs to give, and when giving stops, death comes.
Wait,
And you
so
see this-
so the
you see-
springbok gives of itself to the cheetah?
Can I just explain? Can I just please have 3 minutes? 3 minutes to explain what I'm trying to say, and then
I'll
you
give
can
you
ask
90
questions.
seconds starting now.
Okay, thank you. The law of giving is this. You see it in the oceans. Oceans give the water to the clouds, and the clouds rain back down to the waters. And this is a circle of giving, and it continues. If a body of water if a body of water separates himself from this circle, it stagnates and everything in it dies. Secondly, you see this in your blood flows in your body in constant. This is again an example of this circle of giving. If you cut yourself, you cut the circulation, death ensues, and you see bees give the flowers give the pollen to the bees, and the bees increase the population of the flowers, and so on. It's a principle of giving. If the flowers should choose to stop, then death will come. If you choose not to breathe, you choose not to give, you tie a plastic bag around your head, you die. And so this is
45.
you can see this in everything, and you see the planets circulate around the sun. Electrons circulate around the nucleus. You have the Krebs cycle, you have the carbon cycle. So everything is designed to operate in a circle. So to operate upon giving, right?
Are you done early?
And so when giving stops, death comes. And so this is a law because it's testable. You can see this you can see this in nature, and also it's also testable in the fact that in nature we see things that do not operate upon this law, and this is what we call sin, and this is what's killing people, and this is God's plan on healing people. So and then I'm done with that evidence. I have another one, but I'm done with that.
Cool, 90 seconds exactly.
Okay. Your evidence is that we see natural systems exist, and so we assume that they were created by God for no apparent reason at all. We just make that assumption. We didn't have any evidence for it, but that's what we want to believe, so we make that assumption.
There's a law.
Hang on, you had your time.
You said you could test this,
Yes.
and that you could demonstrate sin. Well, I would be impressed if you could even define sin, but let's see a test for sin. You're saying that animals eat each other in defiance of this law because of sin, and that you can test for it. How do you do that?
No. Sin is actually defiance of this law. This is the definition of sin. It is lawlessness.
What did you say was testable?
The law of giving
Okay,
life.
let's stop this right here, because something isn't a law just because you call it a law. And what you've done is engaged in one great big flippin' argument from analogy. You go around and you observe that there is some order in the universe, something neither of us would reject. And then you say, look, there's this here, and it's similar to this here. And there's this here, and it's similar to this here. And there seems to be kind of similarities in order in the universe. Therefore, there must be a law that everything is this way. And I'm going to extend that further and call it a law of love. And the things that violate the law are sin. You cannot simply run around making observations and create a great big argument for analogy and then give it a new label that allows you to give it another new label of God.
And then
That's
you also
asinine.
use the example wherein the flower gives its pollen to the bee. I didn't see any tendrils offering the bee anything. What I see is a flower, and a bee goes in and takes it.
Yeah.
How do you demonstrate? How do you test that?
It is a design.
How do you know?
How do you test that?
How could you test that? To test that, then you take a flower and try and grow it in isolation from bees.
No, that's not a test for design.
So what you're testing there is the evolution of symbiotic systems. So, how do you test for your assumption of God, and that your secondary assumption that God's nature is love, and your third assumption?
It's falsifiable in this way. If you can give me an
Wait,
example of
are you referring to the Bible